Hello and welcome back to Talk Seagulls, and we're back after what I think 3 or 4 weeks in the Caxton Arms again. Thank you all for being very, very kind as well. I have to say, just before the start of the video, it's been a long time actually. It's really, really weird to not be filming so regularly, but we are back, and we're back at the Caxton, as I said before. And Brett, I'm back with you, my friend, as the landlord, the owner of the pub. How are you doing?
I'm all good, all good. Just recovered from celebrating the weekend. So I'm
Yeah.
happy.
Oh, the scenes at the end of that
Yeah.
game was unbelievable. I think there's got to be a couple of videos I can put on the intro for that, because so many people have sent in. And if you did get any cool videos, by the way, send them in to Talk Seagulls Instagram, because I'll always post them or use them as an intro. But yeah, but what a way to get back to it. What's it? Six wins in a row. Brighton are in unbelievable form. It's got to be said.
Yeah, as I said, who knew that losing 7-0 would be the best thing that could happen to us this season? Like, since then, like Fabian said, he burnt the tactics book, and
Yeah.
after that, there seems to be this togetherness from the whole squad, the subs bench, the playing staff, the coaching staff, the fans as well. And yeah, what a turnaround! Six
Yeah.
wins on the bounce. I don't know if maybe since the Gus days at the top of League One. I don't know.
Yeah, I
It's
think
been ages.
it's definitely top flight. It's like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
never happened before. I think, yeah, even in my memory, I think we had that unbelievable run in the Championships. The only thing that comes to my mind. You remember that
Yeah.
unbeaten run? We went like 25
Yeah.
games or something. But again, couldn't tell you how many wins we got in a
Yeah.
row. So someone can probably correct us, that his stats in the comments below. But yeah, that it's unbelievable. It really is. I mean, I've got to give the absolute credit where it's due. As you say, that togetherness seems probably better than it's ever been, at least in a long time. I remember the end of that European season. Remember when De Zerbi was here? I think it was 2023.
Yeah.
You felt that like real togetherness. I
Yeah.
think since then we've probably not experienced it quite the same. But I mean, you saw the players' reactions at the end of that game. It means everything to them.
Yeah, so it was great. Like from like all the old pros, and then there was Slater and Joe Knight,
Yeah.
Cashin all jumping in. Piling. There's that great picture of João Pedro just in front of the North Stand, and everyone piling on top of him. And like, so you don't normally see that, and to see it gives you a bit of confidence that we might actually pull off what we didn't think was possible and get into Europe.
Yeah, this is the thing. We wrote off Europe
Yeah,
not even long ago. I mean,
Yeah.
a few weeks ago, it was like, it's done. And to
Yeah.
be honest, I want to just address this, to be honest, because I don't think that anyone was actually that outrageous back then. And I
No.
still stand by what we said back then. That it was we were on the back of a 7-0 defeat.
Yeah.
And I think that the people love to say, oh, well, the fickle fan base that is. I think most people at the end of that game, especially the ones that went to the game, were absolutely fuming. And you can't blame them. And I think when you look back now in the last, six wins in a row, you have to give complete credit where it's due, and say, football changes that quickly. You would not be able to probably put in your mind back then that was even going to happen. But for that to happen in the way it has done, as you say, rightly, it's put us into unbelievable territory. I think now we're, a couple points off Champions League?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's crazy. I mean, I think if we beat City at the weekend, we will go into the Champions League spots.
Yeah, that's just a dark sentence.
Yeah.
To begin
And
with.
City
So
got
far,
beatable.
like with 10 games to go, that's just a surreal sentence. But I said I'd written off Europe. Like we had that run of games where we had like Leicester, Wolves, Palace.
Yeah.
We didn't. I think we got 1 win out of 7, and that run where you think, oh, we might get 12, 15 points foolishly. And then like the fans were singing about Champions League, just show me the way to Barcelona, Europe again, LA, and then it all kind of fell off a cliff. But now this squad seemed like they bonded, and and we're winning and not playing well, which is a massive thing for us. Like before we were playing well, not getting points, or we were playing well for 89 minutes and then dropping points at the end. But now we're grinding out results, and that's what we need.
Yeah, I think there's actually a bit of a trend across the Premier League this season. I've noticed the difference in style of play. I don't really think many teams play expansively now, apart from maybe I couldn't name many.
Southampton, keep trying.
Yeah, and I don't think it doesn't work this season. It's one thing that I've noticed a bit of. You see it with Arsenal get ridiculed for it, don't they, with how they play? And rightly, it's really hard to watch sometimes. But even Liverpool, they were singing that they haven't even got out of second gear all season. And really, they haven't. Okay, they've got a great squad, but you see in the Champions League. I was watching the PSG game, I was watching the Real Madrid game, and again, great individual teams, but again, emphasis on the individuals and not so much, making them play a certain systemic way. So it's interesting. It's definitely a trend this season. I think if we can keep doing that, as I've said for all season, we've got an unbelievable squad, and I stand by it, and I never would change my mind on it. I thought this squad is the best we've got, and especially going forward, the amount of goals we can score. For you, what do you think for Brighton at the end of the season? Do you think it's Champions League? Do you think it's Europa League? Or do you still just want to take it one game at a time, maybe based on the fact we're not still playing the best that we could do?
I said, like, we've still got like Villa, Newcastle, City. I can't think there's a few like tough games of the teams around us. So if we don't lose those, then we're in for a shout. I think Champions League's out the equation, possibly.
You think?
But that's between Chelsea and City. But then we are only 3 points behind Chelsea, which is mad.
Yeah.
But can we sustain it enough? But I'll be happy with Europa League, definitely. Conference League, I believe still that any English team that's in it should win that. So if we get it in it, great. But we're getting it as smaller teams and it's harder to get tickets.
There's a bit of expectation on it, to be fair.
Yeah. But Europa League, I think, is the one that we want to go for, because that's one where you play decent teams and ones that we have got chance of being in the top, like maybe semi-finalist, which is what De Zerbi wanted before we fell apart against Roma.
Yeah.
Which I think, again, most English teams that get into Europa League should get deep into that competition. So if we're them, then amazing.
Yeah, I agree. It's a weird Premier League season, really, isn't it? I mean, you mentioned Leicester, Southampton down at the bottom. It's just really strange, because I remember someone saying recently that it's actually gone a little bit stale in terms of who comes up, they're going to go down. And actually the gap is ridiculous. And it made me think a little bit, and I thought, we're quite lucky with the time we got promoted. We probably near enough perfect timing, really. I think that when we got promoted as a club, we were ready for it. I think it was any time before that would have been a bit premature.
Yeah, I think so. That season before we got promoted, I think we would have struggled massively.
Maybe gone back down again. And, that would have been, I think we would have just looked back on it as, oh yeah, well, we got to the Premier League. Right? You know what I'm trying to say? I think because we've done it in the way we have, we've managed to build, we've had them sort of couple of seasons where we nearly got relegated, and then we knew what not to do sort of thing, changed the recruitment, whatever. Testament again to the club for doing that well. But I think when you look at the clubs now, the gap is insane.
Yeah.
And as you say, when you get your English club getting into Europe, maybe there is an expectation on getting towards the latter rounds. Do you think that's true to say? Do you think that's fair to say?
Yeah. Well, look how bad Man United are in the Premier League. And they're doing well in Europe. Rangers as well, to an extent. They are terrible in Scotland, but flying in Europe. And going back to like us getting promoted, I think. Who came up with us? Huddersfield. Yeah,
Huddersfield and Newcastle.
Newcastle. And we all stayed up that year, and I don't know if that's happened since.
Not many times.
So, like we've just built and built. They said we struggled to stay in the league once, maybe, like that one where Houghton did get sacked. But the flack that the club got for getting rid of him then showed that we had ambition to be more than just keeping afloat. And then Bloom always said top 10 consistently is his vision, and that's what we're doing, apart from obviously the little blip, the downfall at the end of the last season, but where we just fell off a cliff and ended up 11th, I think. But
11th,
we're right up there, and top 10 is definitely doable this year.
Oh, definitely. I think we're hitting form at a really, really good time. We're obviously coming towards the end of the season. We're not quite there yet.
I
think
I agree.
April run I looked at is the one which is really going to define us. April could make or break us. I think that could be interesting for us. But I think, as I keep saying, the squad we got, you saw it particularly as we were sort of getting towards the late end of the game day before. And the ability that we can bring on now is ridiculous. I mean, even Welbeck, for example. I know that people don't look at Welbeck as like a 20 million signing that we made this summer. But the ability to just bring him on, when we've already got Jorginho, we've already got João Pedro, even if they're not in the game too much, you then bring him on. On that subject, I thought Mats Wiefer was absolutely brilliant when he come on. Finally can say it.
Yes, he was. Yeah, unbelievable. Won every tackle, kept the ball, kept possession when we needed it. Like
football hipsters win.
Like he got like the crowd going, and like for just someone that's like a central defensive midfielder, for that to get the crowd on their feet cheering that loudly, that doesn't happen a lot.
No.
And so he played unbelievably. He's played at right back, he's played centre back, and yesterday, was it Saturday?
A couple of days ago.
He was all over the place, he was, what a cameo that was. And
Finally,
what we did.
I can say it about Matt Sweeper.
Yeah.
I wanted to say it all season. Whenever I said about Matt Sweeper, I would get stick. People would say, no, he's not good enough. He's going to be the one that flops. I remember when David Weir said, when we brought him in, and he said he is the best deep line playmaker in the world. That's what he said. His words, not mine. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do a little bit of scout report on this guy. Was that the most influential character for Arne Slot's Feyenoord? And I thought, you cannot then just do this. It doesn't happen, right? There's an adaptation period. I think the worst possible thing for him was that Wolves moment, wasn't it, where he gave the ball away. Fans turned against him. And I think in general, he wasn't even that bad.
We're still that goal, like whoever ran down the length of the pitch, they still had to cross it, still had to shoot.
Yeah.
Like,
why
was he? There was already four people up front.
He didn't get lauded for it. Exactly.
But the Wolves player still had loads to do after he gave the ball away, so it wasn't completely down to him. Even though if he could have done anything, fallen over, kicked it off, they wouldn't have scored. But since then, he had a little bit of a ropey time. But he was unreal.
It's good to see him into the team. And I made a tweet about our midfield yesterday. Sort of a bit half-hearted, to be honest. And I said that Gomez, Weefer and Baleba is our best midfield. And someone said, what about Hinch? And I thought, oh, yeah. So this is the thing that I wanted to ask you, is that midfield quality, people like to say it was really hard to replace, really hard to... And I always thought of it as the club almost stockpiling if we did get into Europe and, having that bit of extra protection for us. Now that we're finally in winning ways, it's easier to talk about in a positive manner. But that midfield, for me, is ridiculously balanced across the board. Yeah. With a lot of quality.
Yeah. Oops. Completely. So first choice is Believer. And then, like Hinchelwood until a couple of weeks ago was shooing, and then Gomez has come in with all these cameos being absolutely unreal, but he looks a little bit unfit still. Lasts about half an hour, which is probably why he came on at the end. But he's looked. He's good. I think he's looking really, really good.
McAllister regen, dare I say?
Yeah. And then they got obviously Weefer if he starts playing like he did the other day. I don't know. Like we don't really have much of a physical presence in the middle of midfield, which is why teams have run through us. So, between Believer, I think I'd go with, I don't know, maybe I'd still think Hinchelwood's right up there with our best central midfielders. I think that's his favourite position rather than right back. But then, the depth we've got with Weefer and then Gomez, and then we've still got other players like O'Reilly plays in there, doesn't he? And I don't know what's happened to him.
Well, O'Reilly's one of them, isn't it? I think he's had his time with that injury, and he's obviously been unwell recently. Now he's still got a bit of a knock. I think he's just never truly felt the confidence since that Crawley moment. So
I agree with that.
I think his time will come. He still doesn't look quite there to me. It feels like he almost looks a bit scared on the pitch. He looks a little bit frightened. I think he'll be there. I think he'll be fine. It's a bit. He reminds me a little bit of Weefer. Maybe struggled a little bit more than Weefer did, but I think he'll be fine. He just needs maybe that extra bit of time. He had that City moment, didn't he, where maybe his expectation on it went like this, and he just maybe thought could have maybe done without. And that's one of them things with football, isn't it? Where if you have a moment like that, especially we always go back to a bit of the Ferguson hat trick. You get so much eyes on you so early on, and I think sometimes it's the worst possible thing for players. Expectation can kill a young talent, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you also get the ones where the players that don't play, they seem to get better because they're not playing. Like in the fans' opinions, like, oh, why aren't they playing? And why is he playing? Why is he not playing? Well, he's clearly better, and the more he doesn't play, the better he gets, even though he hasn't played.
It's just adaptation process. I think fans struggle to remember that. Like in general, players, especially our players, are very, very young. We've got a very young squad. When we've stockpiled in the way we have, as I said, going into next season. The reason I mentioned them three midfielders, by the way, is I just do think if you're in Europe of some description, I feel like you might need a little bit more barrier than what we play with. We're a little bit weaker maybe in midfield. We like to be a little bit more risky with that double pivot. I think a trio of midfielders, when they're all fit and ready, I think would probably be the best way of winning games in a tournament style competition. But it's just me anyway. I'm not a manager at the end of the day, but it was just a thought. But we're in unbelievable form. It's hard to knock that. But I mean, we've got obviously City next, but for me, we've got, 7 games in between losing 7-0 to Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
We could potentially go 7 wins in a row, which is not unreasonable to say at the moment. We could beat Manchester City, very rightly. We could go 7 wins in a row before playing Nottingham Forest after losing 7-0. I don't think there's many better incentives to want to get to a semi-final in the FA Cup, potentially against Crystal Palace as well, than beating Nottingham Forest after they sent us on this unbelievable run. What do you think?
Yeah, just be a win for each goal we conceded that day, wasn't it? So,
I want to beat them 8-0.
But just beating them, or just like we just lost to Everton and lost 7-0. There was a lot of Hertzler out, like the noise there going on. So not many people trust in his process, and then suddenly out of nowhere, I think we got lucky that we played Chelsea twice because
they were really poor.
They were really, really poor.
Really poor.
And then we thought, we beat them. Was it the Cup first?
Yes, Cup first.
And then we thought, they're not going to be that bad again. And they turned up again. They were even worse. And then suddenly our confidence got high and sent us on this unbelievable journey.
I think the impressive one for me was Newcastle.
Yeah.
I think winning that game in added time at St James's Park is not easy.
Yeah.
Newcastle were historically a great team in that sort of thing, especially in recent years. And I did get a bit worried thinking, okay, well, if we're going to get into added time, I don't want to play penalties here because they're going to be right up for it. And the fact that we did it in the way we did it maybe wasn't the prettiest game for the first 45 minutes, but I think that second 45, it had a bit of everything.
Yeah, and that was a proper cup tie, wasn't it?
It was. And it was the way we rode that. I thought, okay, there's a bit more maturity, there's a bit more game plan there. And maybe that's what Hertzler's tactics are really, really good for, is something like a cup competition where, you're emphasising so much on the individual talent and you're getting so much out of individual talent that, maybe you don't need to interfere too much. You see with Carlo Ancelotti in the Champions League all the time.
Yeah, I agree. And for me, like, the Bournemouth and the Fulham home game, we don't win those normally.
No,
and we ground out results. Like Bournemouth, we were second best the second half.
Yeah,
we had one chance and we scored. We got a win. And like Fulham, we ground out a result, a draw we probably would have taken, and then the score in the last minute. We've got 3 points. We've stopped them getting any points. Same with Bournemouth, and that's how suddenly we found ourselves, like, match of the day, we're talking about us being in Champions League contention. It's like, what the hell's that about?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't want to get too carried away, but we might be in the Champions League. But no, I think that it's a nice point that you say, really. What do you even call it? Probably learning process we've maybe had to go through as particularly as fans, but as a club, we have been a little bit cheap with the way we've given away points in the past. We're maybe that little bit, passive when it comes to wanting to, push on to that next level, maybe where you want to assert your dominance and be the better team. And, within that run as well, you've obviously had that Norwich game just before where we've just gone there and smashed them, right? And that, again, that's a sort of game where I look at and I think, okay, you've got to beat them and well. Southampton, the 4-0. You want to just go there and prove that you're the better team. So it's not just the games where you've beaten the likes of Newcastle, beaten the likes of Chelsea. And that Fulham result, I'll ask you this question. Do you think it was a penalty, first and foremost?
Straight away, I went, he's dived again. I said, no, it's not a penalty. I watched it back the next day. I still think it's a bit soft, but because he gave it, it was hard to overturn. But if he hadn't given it, I don't think VAR would have overturned it and given it to us. So I was saying, like, João Pedro seems to win a lot of penalties rather than get fouled. So
he's clever, or is he a cheat? That's
borderline. There's a lot of times where I get infuriated with where he goes down. He stays down when he could just get up and help the attack that we're on. But when we get a penalty, he's just, I don't know what it's something like 16 out of 17 he's got for us, and the one he did miss, he got the rebound. So you wouldn't back anyone else to take him for us. So
this is the question. There is no one else I'd back. What other player in the Premier League would you genuinely take over João Pedro on a penalty?
Yeah, there was Ivan Toney, wasn't there? And then when he come, and then I don't know. You got even like the best player, like Cole Palmer missed one. Like, so it's hard to see who you'd back, and even in our club, I don't know who I would
No.
back second. No.
I saw JP was asked about whether he would take Salah over João Pedro, and he said he would take João Pedro.
Yeah.
And I think I agree with him. I don't think I would take many other people.
Yeah,
there's not a single doubt in my mind. And this is the point when that ball fell to him for that dive or that foul, should I say. There's not many other players on that pitch that I would have wanted a moment in the 95th minute to happen for. I thought as soon as it happened, you heard the crowd.
Yeah.
When that penalty's given, everyone's celebrating like we've scored. That was not really a thing before. No. We weren't so confident. When we got a penalty, we thought, well, we need to score it now. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I still felt sick waiting for it to happen. But deep in my head, I thought, he's going to score. Like, he is going to score. And there wasn't too much doubt in my head to think, you don't doubt João Pedro in moments like that. He is a big game player personified. I don't think that there's many other players, especially that's in Brighton's time that I've seen anyway, apart from maybe Mitoma, I don't think I've seen many players just rise to the big occasion. Okay, I think he was guilty maybe of not always turning up to the teams in between that, you know, big game, small game time.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
You lose that consistency with them sort of players. Although he proved against Southampton, and I think he said in his interview afterwards that, you know, he was told that he needs to be a bit more together, a bit more this and that. And I think you've definitely seen that in him now. You've seen that captain material that he wore the armband for not so long ago. He's still only really young, but to have that attribute of being a big game player, I think is probably one of the best things you can be attributed in football.
Yeah. So that's a very rare thing to happen. And you said, like, there isn't many that do rise to the occasion. It tends to be like when the transfer window's about to end, that's when players turn up when they want to get a big move. But yeah, like João, like that Newcastle game, he ran himself into the ground, and even like Herzl was taking the mick out of him in the post-match video that they put on about him walking like an old man. And so I said there again, it just shows the togetherness between like the management and the leaders of the team, where João's clearly one of them. So.
Yeah, agree. And that's probably the one thing you get from someone like João Pedro to, you know, someone like Danny Welbeck, someone like Jorginho. As much as I love all of these different players, I think if you're going to have a moment to fall to somebody, to me, I'd pick it to be João Pedro every single time. I know that he's then going to score.
Yeah, that's how the song goes, isn't it?
And his song is spot on. Yeah. But yeah, completely. One other mention, I know he maybe didn't have as good of a game, although I still thought he was very good on a whole, particularly defensively, was Yankuba Minte. I wanted to pick him out just because he's been in absolutely brilliant form, but I think as well, his tracking back ability is brilliant. Yeah. He's an absolute hassler. Yeah. He's all over his man every single week, but he loves a good challenge. He's got a very good touch. He's very athletic. Yeah. He's electric pace. You know, he's starting to work on his finishing. His final product is becoming a lot better. He could have had an assist. I think if it was him that put the ball across, or was it Georgie? I can't actually remember now. Yeah, it was him that put the ball across. For Mitoma's disallowed one. I think in general, Minte he will be a top player. That 33 million is looking cheap. Thank you, Newcastle.
Yeah, so well, they were desperate to sell him for the FFP. They sold him, and there was the one that went to Forest. Anderson. They got like 50, 60 million quid for it when they were like in the financial mire. So like for us, at the start of the season, like in pre-season, Minte looked ridiculously good.
He did,
scoring pre-season. Then after the Everton first game, he went off the boil a bit and just sometimes never looked like he had control of the ball or his movements. Yeah. And then I kind of compared it to Forrest Gump a bit cruelly. Like
Forrest Gump.
I said, if the North Stand wasn't there, he'd get run over by a train because he just. But now he's like, since he had that disciplinary for turning up late for a match or training, he's like since then he's been so good.
Yeah. He seems like he really cares as well. Yeah. I've got to be honest. I see the videos of him and Baleba and, you know, Georgie as well. The vibes are immaculate in the squad. I think they're such a likeable bunch. Yeah. I feel like I could be friends with at least 5 of them. I think if I was in a friendship group with Jorginho, Minte and Baleba, I think I'd get on with them pretty well, particularly with the Pokemon cards with Georgie. I think I've even got some in my coat at the moment. But I think it's just, I don't know, that matters a lot to me. Is seeing the good vibes, is seeing the happy energy. Yeah. It does work. It does work. And it gives you that feeling of, I love this squad. I like to see that. I like to, it's all well and good having the absolute best players in the world, but if they aren't playing together or they aren't, on side with each other, or someone thinks they're better than somebody else, and you have them fallouts that, you don't want that. And I think when you've got a team like this, I think you do definitely see it. It does reciprocate, especially when they're coming off the pitch. You can see they're really, really happy. And I thought those celebrations, you saw it with Hinchelwood particularly, absolutely loved it.
Yeah. I said, like, is there a happier person that plays football than Jorginho Rota? It's like, he's just always so happy, so cheery, so smiley. And obviously that's had an effect on the rest. And somebody put that video compilation together of Belabor in a tunnel, and all his mad actions are like driving around going beep beep, like just thinking, what the hell is that?
He's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. But that might do us a favour if like Arnie Slot sees it and goes, we can't sign that.
No.
And we get to keep him. And he's obviously going to be one of our next 80, £100 million players.
Yeah.
So I think he was better than Caicedo or Basuma was at that age.
Yeah.
A lot stronger, a lot
more
better.
well-rounded as well. I think Belabor is absolute beast of nature. Like, he is unbelievable. I think technically brilliant, physically fantastic. I think you don't see many people shrug him off the ball. You don't see him miss too many challenges. I think sometimes he's still, needs that a bit of guidance. I don't think he's ready to go to like a big club right now. But I think his general attitude is superb. His all-round play, I love to see it when he just drives it forward. And when he wants to go for it and just bring the ball with him, can travel with the ball so far and so quickly. You don't see many people get near him. And when he wants to do it, he can dictate a game on his own. I think Basuma had a time where he used to do that here, towards the end of his Brighton career, but it was nowhere near to the level what Belabor can do. I do think if he was to go, and I don't want to ever say it because I feel like we talk about our players leaving way too much.
Yeah, I do as well.
But I think he's worth more than Caicedo. I actually do. Now, I don't think anyone will meet the valuation of whatever we put on him this summer. I think that's my saving hope. I think you will lose a player or two maybe in the summer. I think maybe João Pedro could go. I think maybe Mitoma will have a few bids for him. And they will hurt. But I think Belabor might be the one that you keep hold of, hopefully, anyway. And if you get Champions League, it's an incentive to stay here, right?
Yeah, I think that'll be, or even just get into the Europa League, I think that'll keep most players. And it'd be nice for one season just to not sell all the crown jewels and add to it and see how far we can go. Which I don't know if we've ever done that. But obviously that's not our business model, so
it's whether we can afford. We've got all these ridiculous profits they've announced recently. It's whether the club will be happy to just sit on them profits for another year and say, okay, we could make a lot of money this summer. We could go sell Pedro. We could go sell Mitoma. It's whether that value is right in the sense of the return for potential next season. If you do keep hold of those players and maybe, as you say, add in a couple of centre backs, maybe add in a right back, left back, whatever we go and do. You got a Champions League run. You're seeing Villa do a really, really good job of it at the moment. They've gone above better expectation, I would say, in the Champions League.
Absolutely.
I think, okay, they've maybe not done as well in the league as consistently, but you expect that anyway. And they're reaping the rewards of it, I think. Okay, they're a richer club than us and we can't compete with them financially. But I think if you are willing to just spend that extra 12 months and think, Mitoma, okay, maybe he could decline, although I'd see it as a very unlikely scenario. I think João Pedro, especially if he's playing Champions League football, is only going to rise in valuation. I don't think you'll see that change. I would be shocked if Mitoma doesn't as well.
It would be nice just to give it a go for one season. If we sell them all at the end, we gave it a go, fair play. But just to keep consistently selling someone for big money, I get why we do it. I completely understand why we do it. But the fan in me just wants us to build.
And I think as well on a business, I'm thinking of it like trying to detach emotion out of games sometimes, because I like to do that when I do this. Because as much as in the moment I can think and whatever, when I do a podcast, I like to try and see what the club would see as well. And I think we've always done it well. But I think seeing it as a business perspective, our team is young.
Yeah.
value is high.
Yeah.
And if you're playing at a higher level consistently and potentially doing better than you would be if you were to lose said players for the price now,
Yeah.
that price should surely be higher.
Yeah.
But by the end of that season, if they go and knock 3, 4, 5 goals in Champions League, you get, it's not group stage anymore. If you get into the knockouts through the league phases, or you get through to the playoffs and do well through there, although I can't deal with having playoffs again. Oh my gosh. But again, that surely would be enough valuation rise. I don't know. It's always hypothetically speaking at the moment anyway, because we're not there. But, to me, it's just one of those things where I think, it's a year of potential European football under the belts.
Yeah, I don't want to get carried away, but you kind of do, don't you? Like,
you have to, though. What's the point of being
what's
bored?
The point of, dreaming?
We're not the manager in the we're not here sitting here saying, well, trust the process every day as it comes. Because for us, we've got a dream, we're fans, and I think you've got to do that. If every single time you do well in football and you're there like, trust the process. How boring would that be? Imagine you score in the 95th minute. You're like, you couldn't do that, could you? It's not right. So you got to enjoy it as much as thinking rationally. And I think that gets lost. And a lot of people like to use the word reactionary without even knowing really what that means anymore. I think that's the new thing on Twitter is to say you're reactionary after a game when football's a reactionary sport. People are in high emotion during a game of football, and I think if anything, I've been pretty consistent this season, to be honest. I think I've consistently said I wanted to see more tactically, and still maybe not even played the best recently, although we're in a really, really good respective form in terms of results. But hey, that's the conversation.
Yeah. The results are what matter at the moment. Doesn't matter how we do it. As you said, like, we ground out wins at that Fulham game, so that's all we need, just to keep ourselves up there.
Yeah, agree. Final points. JP Van Hecker.
I can't believe that's his first ever goal for us. I didn't realise that.
Yeah, I know. He feels like he scores every corner, but he doesn't.
But then, I don't understand that. Like took 2 minutes to VAR check if he was offside or not.
Yeah, true. Actually, yeah, I didn't understand that either. Terrible defending, really, really poor defending. But what a header!
Yeah, because I was like, oh, not another floaty free kick into the box, and then he was literally no one was near him.
Well, they tried it with who was taking the corners before? Minte, was it?
Yeah.
And they just kept hitting the first man. So I think they then switched it to putting a Yari on. I thought, okay, well, at least if it hits one of our players, I'll take it. It was actually a good ball in, to be fair, and it was a good header. But Van Hecker, Again, absolutely loves it. And it's the sort of player that, again, you want to like.
Yeah.
You want to
like
JP. You want to like Carlos Baleba, etc. And you can feel the energy from them. You know, that celebration again. You don't normally celebrate like that at 1-0 against Fulham. He went mad. But I think it's great,
Yeah, absolutely. And to go with Van Heck, how good has Webster been alongside him? Like, we looked like we were a bit short light numbers, and we said we've got the best squad we've ever had.
Poor Cashin, it's turned into a cheerleader.
But from saying we've got the best squad we ever had to then also have someone that was a little bit ridiculed, may I say?
Very ridiculed, I'd say.
To step up and be unreal.
Yeah.
Like, since he's come back in, like, winning tackles, headers, carrying the ball forward. Just like, you could even see his leadership in the team where everyone looks up to him and he's always the first one to put their arm around. I can't remember who's coming down the tunnel. He had his arm around someone to say, "Oh, come on, do better."
Oh, yeah. It was Tarek, I think.
Oh, yeah. After he got sent off, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah, and then and like he's always the first to run up to the goal scorer, scream in their face, like, "Come on!" Like, he's like, we thought we'd miss Dunk a lot, and we do, but then Webster's come in, and it's been like as if like the transition of like he's been there the whole time, and we've looked a lot more solid at the back than we normally do. So
it helps that he's just that leader, I think, as well. Because that's the sort of role that he took up for about a year or two, I'd say. He had a lot of trouble with injury, didn't he? Then we signed Colwell on loan, so he didn't really play at all. And Dunk was obviously in his prime at that time, so he was playing too well to ever think about dropping him out of the team. And would start to take a bit of a back seat, And I think when he came in way back when in 2019, when we signed him from Bristol City, I remember Bristol City fans saying to me how good he is, and he has got the potential to be a top player. It was just unfortunate for him. He sort of struggled, I think, when he first came in, we weren't really ready to start playing out from the back. So, he got in trouble for a lot of mistakes. And then people had in their head that he was the one that made mistakes, whereas he's actually just the first of his kind for us in terms of being a ball player. He liked to bring the ball out. He liked to play the ball out from the back. And I think it gave him a sort of false reputation, maybe.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And then when he did get himself into a good vein of form, he'd then get injured.
Yeah.
And then he went through a bit of trouble with that. So I think he was on the brink of getting that England call up.
Yeah, I said just before the World Cup. No, the Euros. Wasn't it?
Euros, I think. Euros or maybe the World Cup. I think one of them. You're right. And he was so close.
Yeah.
And then he got injured again. And I think that's been his problem. He got too fit, not fit enough, to get injured again. And then when the time you would see him is the time where he would be coming back from injuries. So then he was more likely to give the ball away or maybe be a bit leggy. So you didn't see that as much. Whereas now he's just turned into this, as I say, like a captain.
Yeah. The worries when Dunk got injured, Igor was out as well. You just thought, oh no.
Yeah, Igor. I forgot about Igor.
But then he stepped up and we're looking as solid at the back as we have done all season. So fair play to Webster for that turnaround as well.
Love Webdini. Yeah. Top man. But yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that's just about everything. It's summed up in a small 30 odd minutes. I think we've just about covered everything, but I believe there's one extra thing. Your charity match on the 22nd of March over in Worthing FC's ground. Some really, really cool names. I know you mentioned it on one of the episodes previously, but for the people that didn't hear it then.
So it's weirdly, I'm friends with the comedian Joe Wilkinson and Guy Butters. So between the three of us, we put a Brighton and Hove Albion Legends team to play a Rocking Horse All-Stars team. So the Brighton Legends team's got Gary Hart, Baz Savage, Dean Cox, Tommy Fraser, and Guy, obviously. And a few names from the past like Mark Omerod, Stuart Tuck, Warren Aspinall's playing in it.
Nice.
And then the Rocking Horse team is basically me, a bunch of my mates that I go watch Brighton games with, and a load of celebrities, which include Joe Wilkinson, John Richardson, Maisie Adams, Joe Marler, the rugby player, Paul Gorton from the Traitors, and there's just ridiculous. I think we sold about 500 tickets already, so hopefully we'll get a crowd of about 1,000 and raise loads of money for an amazing charity.
That'd be brilliant. Is there a link on anything to get tickets?
Yeah. It's on the Rocking Horse website to get tickets, and then it's all over my social media and theirs as well.
Brilliant. Well, follow Brett on social media, follow everything, and I'll put the links in the description so you can go there. I'll definitely be there as well, just to say I'll 100% be there. Try and get some content for you.
Yeah.
I guess lap it up with the phone, following you around, whatever you want me to do. But yeah, no, it should be really, really good. It's a really good thing you're doing as well. So definitely support Brett for that. Apart from that, though, I really don't think there is anything else. I'm just trying to think in my head in case I've missed anything, but I don't think I have. But yeah, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Good to be back, of course. Make sure you come to Catch the Arms. They actually have prices on the pumps, which is, I just said to Brett, that's the best thing ever, because there's so many times you get ripped off in Brighton, especially anywhere, to be honest. Don't have the prices, so make sure you come here and you actually know how much you're spending on a pint. Although after a few you probably won't know what you're spending anyway. But yeah, make sure you come here, and we'll see you very soon. Thank you all for the support, as absolutely always. And yeah,
goodbye.